What's up, YouTube? It's Chris with Murphy Firearms Training. I want to tell you today why I think the 327 Federal Magnum is a great revolver cartridge and why we need it. So let's start with some history. It was designed in 2007. It was to be an improvement on the 32 H&R Magnum, and it was designed to be fired from 2 to 4 inch barrels as a joint program between Ruger and Federal Cartridge Company. In this process, they more than doubled the pressure from the 32 H&R Magnum. So the 32 H&R Magnum was 21,000 cup, and the 327 Federal Magnum is 45,000 psi. And at the time of this, that was pretty high. Revolver pressures, higher than 44 Magnums, higher than 357 Magnums. And the idea behind this was to produce a round that hit harder than a 38 Special, but had a different recoil impulse and perhaps recoiled less than a 357 Magnum. And what they wanted is they wanted the performance of a lightweight 357 Magnum, something that was better than 38, but as good as those low-end, those 110, 125 grain 357 Magnums. So what happened? The guns came out, but the ammo was very sparse and the caliber was very slow to gain traction. In the beginning, you had several companies making revolvers, and eventually Taurus, Charter Arms, and Smith & Wesson all discontinued their firearms. They did not make a gun in this caliber. Ruger continued to make models and still does. Taurus has since reintroduced the 327, and Henry makes a lever gun in the caliber now. Ammo is also considerably more available, and the caliber is gaining in popularity. So why do we need another revolver cartridge? Well, let's start with the antiquated 38 Special. I have picked some 38 plus P loads. These are all self-defense loads, and I have heavily chosen from Speer and Federal because they make 327 Federal Magnum ammo, and so it's kind of I want an apples to apples comparison. So here's some 38 Special ammo, and what we see is the energy's typically in the 200s, somewhere between 222 and 290. 290 is up there. And ballistically, most 38 Special rounds, we get pretty close to published velocities because 38 Specials really are snub noses. Most people carry snub noses, and most companies test out of snub noses. We also get very spotty expansion when we do real-life ballistic tests, and so some of the 38 Special loads we've tested from a snub nose just don't expand well. Some do, some don't, so really pick your ammo well. But in general, not a ton of energy. I mean, some of these loads really are pretty anemic, if we're being honest. And prior to the introduction of the 327, the next step up was the 357. Now, I've got here some 357 loads, and you see one as low as 294. And that is Speer actually trying to make a 357 Magnum light, that folks who say the 357 Magnum kicks too much would carry, okay? But in general, the 357 is going to be between 500 and 600 foot-pounds for lighter weight, 125 to 158 grain bullets. You can get more energy from a longer barrel. You can get more energy if you go up to like 180 grain sometimes. But in general, your self-defense loads are going to be in this 500 to 600 foot-pound energy range. And the heavier bullets, the 158s and up, really have a lot of recoil in a short-barreled firearm. And I want you to think if you've ever fired two bullets from the same gun. My example would be a 30-06. You fire a 125 or 150 grain bullet, and then you shoot a 220 grain bullet. The recoil is noticeably more with the heavier bullet. And so a lot of your 357 loads are 158 and up. I have chosen some 125s. You see the energies here. Very effective cartridges. So the 327 weights typically go from 80 to 100 grains. And in 80 to 100 grains, how do we get that same energy? It is with velocity. And most of these energies are going to clock in between 400 and 500 foot-pounds. So significantly more than a 38 Special, but a little less than a lot of the 357 Magnums. It's that in-between cartridge. And I will tell you that most of these published velocities are from a 2 or 4 inch barrel, whereas occasionally from a 357 Magnum, you'll see like this critical defense was actually chronoed from an 8 inch barrel. which is crappy because it's self-defense ammo and nobody carries an 8-inch barrel for self-defense. So, back to the 327. You see your energies, you see your velocities here, and we will be doing some ammo tests with this to see how accurate these are to published velocities. But in general, it's an in-between caliber, considerably more effective than the 38 Special. But most shooters will find, because you're shooting a lighter bullet, it does not feel like it recoils as much as a 357 Magnum. So it's in between on the energy, in between on the recoil. So why do we need it? Well, most people find that it recoils less than the 357 Magnum in the same size weight gun. So if you have a Ruger LCR in 357 Magnum and 327 Magnum, what you're going to find is you're going to feel like the 327 recoils a little less. Even though you're getting about the same energy, depending on the bullet you're firing in the 357, the ballistics nearly match the low-end 357, so you get a lot more energy with less recoil. And the real cool thing is you get one more round. So if you take a 5-round 357 and you buy the same gun in 327, you get one extra round. So 5 rounds goes to 6. If you buy a 6-round revolver, it'll have 7. My ballistic testing with 357 Magnum has shown that frequently in a snub nose, they don't do well. Some do, some don't. Why? Because it depends on what they chronographed and tested out of at the factory. If they tested out of an 8-inch barrel at the factory, it's going to perform poorly in a snub nose. Whereas the 327 was designed for short barrels. Typically, all the testing is done from 2 or 4-inch barrels, and so that's going to mean in your carry gun, it's going to perform as it was intended. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I really hope that you'll give the 327 Federal Magnum a try. It is a great caliber. I carry it regularly. I shoot it a lot, and I really enjoy it. One added bonus that's not in my presentation, if you've made it this far, is that the 327 Federal Magnum will also shoot 32 H&R, 32 Smith & Wesson long, 32 short, and 32 ACP. None of those are super popular calibers, but if you find a box of 32 revolver ammo, pretty much a 327 Federal Magnum will shoot it. So, you got something that shoots a lot of different calibers. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for watching.